Hello, we're back again. It's our post-Revolution podcast. This is Jeremy. This is the Dark Match. Got Matt over there on the East Coast.
Hello.
And let's just get right into it. By the way, this podcast is on a timer and will explode at the end of the episode.
I have zero fear at this point.
Yeah. So you actually just pretty much watched the show today, maybe a little bit yesterday, but you watched the bulk of it today, I would say, right?
Yeah, the majority of it.
So did you manage to stay spoiler free?
For the most part. I did notice Google sort of ruined the Christian thing. But I mean, that was sort of, I kind of saw that one coming.
Yeah, I think that was the best case scenario. I'm not disappointed with it. I'm not like, I mean, the best case scenario was RoboCop or Captain Insano, but we didn't get that. So it's do you remember who we kind of suggested last week?
Triple H was the big one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Actually boldly just outright said that it was fact. RVD was one of the better guesses. I don't remember beyond that. I don't know who is and isn't a free agent.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what's going on. Apparently, their interview just dropped today with Renee Paquette that Christian, like, they hadn't actually agreed to a contract by the time that Paul White made that proclamation that he knew about a signing before everyone else. He's just like, I mean, I was getting along with Tony Khan, but like I hadn't actually signed. So that was a little bit of a gamble on AEW's part. But it did pay off. So that worked out. And it doesn't seem like people are upset about it. Like it's not like, I don't know. I think people are a little bummed out when it was Brian Cage. Brian Cage is great, but that I think it was All Out. Maybe it was Full Gear, but they had that other ladder match. People are a little bummed out that it was just Brian Cage, but Brian Cage is good, but he hasn't done a whole lot. But yeah. But so what did you feel about the pay-per-view overall?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't their best show. It's probably going to be hard. What was it? Full Gear 2 years ago, the other Omega Moxley match. I thought all in all that the Full Gear match was a better Omega Moxley showing. I think I went into this exploding barbed wire death match a little nervous, even after you told me it wasn't so bad. And then when I saw that, like, the explosions literally like shot towards, I was actually more fearful for Billy Gunn through the whole thing, that he was going to explode.
Yeah.
Because they didn't point into the ring at all. They all shot out towards the padding on the floor there.
Yeah.
And they kept zooming in on the barbed wire, so it calmed me down a little bit, because you could see that it was flattened off on the ends. It wasn't,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they were getting in there and blading a little bit with it, but.
And it was like when they did those couple spots, specifically those spots in the corners, they were trying to like get themselves out of the, like, attached to their clothing. But I mean, even flattened off, it would snag you. So no, yeah. So I'm I feel like I would have rated this pay-per-view higher overall if it just wasn't for that dud ending. Like, I think the story that they were trying to tell, if the explosion actually had happened as planned, with Kingston coming to save, big kind of burying the hatchet and saving his friend. I mean, there's ways to salvage it, but it's just kind of lame that the story that they're going with now is that Omega just made a shitty ring, but then that leaves, like, why did Eddie pass out, which is the silly thing, and it makes him look like a chump, and Eddie's not a chump, but that's how he looks like. He's being kind of hung out to dry a little bit, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean,
because the guy's a promo machine.
I applaud the commitment to the bit, but
Yeah.
when they slid in there, they should have like whispered to him that it didn't work. Please don't
Yeah.
oversell this, because it just
Yeah.
made it look that much worse. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, I may have just had the TV turned way too loud, but you could hear people in the audience yelling that they wanted a refund. Like,
Oh, wow. I definitely heard boos. I didn't hear.
yeah,
I didn't. I don't know about the other the refund part, but yeah, it was. It was. Aren't you glad you didn't drive down?
yeah, I am. Um, I think aside from the botched explosion, felt a little let down. The tag match, not really getting to see Chuck and Orange Cassidy have
Yeah.
the showdown with Miro. Because I like watching Orange Cassidy work, and was kind of interested to see what he did across from Miro in a bigger spot. Um, all the other matches were, I mean, they were all good. Highlight of the show, those fucking entrances for the street fight were epic.
Oh yeah.
The match itself was, I mean, the presentation on that was fantastic. Really, that it made me like yearn for those old school boiler room matches
Yeah.
that you just don't get anymore. But seriously, those entrances were other level. Like they definitely stepped that up, and they did everything they could with that to make Sting look like $1,000,000 and protect the living hell out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, man, I hope somehow that's like a alternate attire for Sting in whatever AEW video game we're gonna get. And also, I think it'd be awesome if that warehouse was like a arena that you could play, and that would be pretty badass. But we'll have to see on that. It's probably like a good 2 years out before we actually get the game, but it'll be exciting.
I mean, in the world of pandemic wrestling, I truthfully wouldn't be upset if they moved one of the dark shows into that warehouse. I think it would give it like an edgy vibe. That would be kind of badass. But yeah, the street fight, I didn't know how they would handle it, but it definitely was the highlight of the entire show.
Yeah, and I don't know. I actually watched Dark last week, and I don't know if there's actually crowds there, or if they were just being really silent. But I feel like there's not actual crowds there, and even like the wrestler crowd is not very much. It's like I saw Brian Pillman Jr. on one side. It was just like him and like a lady who I couldn't even tell who it was. It might have just been a friend of Brian Pillman. And then like a couple heels on the other side. It was just like, that was it.
Yeah, I think
so.
For Dark, I think it's just the people that are brought in to work the show are in the audience too. It's like a keep it light safety measure sort of thing.
Yeah, so in that case, like, yeah, you're not getting the benefit of the fans anyway. So let's do it in a cool ass warehouse.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything they tried to do with Raw Underground and failed miserably and gave up on it. I think it would give it some edge, and at least it's a slightly different presentation.
I think for me, the highlight of the show is probably Scorpio Sky, almost dying several times, but still like managing to get the Sonic ring at the end, the literal brass ring that Cody. I at least give Cody this. He said they're literally going to be reaching for the brass ring, and he wasn't one of these people that was using literally incorrectly. It was literally a comically large brass ring.
No, it was a damn hemorrhoid pillow. It was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, as much as I felt like Lance Archer kind of needed some kind of direction. Scorpio Sky, he deserved that, and I'm excited to see if they actually let him. Well, after the street fight, it wouldn't be unreasonable for them to let him beat Darby, because he's got to sell the injuries. But yeah, I think that was the right call. I mean, short of letting like Ethan Page come in and take it night one, but Scorpio was definitely the right call there.
I'm kind of wondering if, in a weird way, and maybe Scorpio's trying to be like a tweener or something like that, but it like on Twitter today, he kind of posted a picture of him holding that Sonic ring, and he tweeted, "I deserve it," and he was being a little kind of braggy on commentary on Dynamite last week. So I'm kind of wondering where they're going with that. Are they leaning into that? So Darby's the baby face, and they're kind of doing that. But obviously not turning Scorpio heel. It's just maybe he's just bragging a little bit about it.
I mean,
I
it's kind of got just an SCU vibe to it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Christopher Daniels was always this. I mean, this is the worst town I've ever been in. Like it, and you still get a pop. Like you get cheered, even though you're shitting on the. It's every Elias song ever.
Yeah.
So
Unless you're in LA, and then they don't actually do that. They actually like being there. Um, but yeah, I thought the women in general did a fantastic job. I really liked the buy-in match with Britt Baker and Maki Ito and Riho and Thunder Rosa. I thought that was pretty strong. And although I'm a little disappointed that Maki Ito did not greet everyone like she normally does, and yeah, we're on pay-per-view. It doesn't matter if she comes out and says hello, motherfuckers. But I guess they want to keep it somewhat family friendly.
I mean, so. I think I got up to like 5 on the JR goddamn count. So I think we were okay to drop one motherfucker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. The women did have a great showing. That buy-in match, they gave them a ton of time to work too. So that was nice to see. And it's something that gets done a lot. The whole like refs backs turn and you get hit with something from the outside, but like the way they worked into it right there at the ending for the crutch to come up with Thunder, it was like perfect. They didn't miss a beat. Like that was probably I'd put it right behind the street fight for me in terms of enjoying it. And I'm going to put this out there, even though it's going to be like the least popular thing that's ever been said on a wrestling podcast. I don't find Riho terribly interesting. It's out there for everybody to hear. I mean, I'm sure she's great, and in the right matches, she can shine like she did in that tag match. But yeah, she was entertaining throughout that tag match, and it's the Bobby Lashley effect. You find like the right pairing, and you put her next to Thunder Rosa, and I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
I
think it's interesting too. Like with Riho, I feel like she is much more impressive in person. Those matches are somehow more impressive in person, and I feel like it's not translating it to TV very well. And just in case in point, one of Billy Gunn's sons took over the excuse all the train noise. I live next to a train track. One of Billy Gunn's sons, I think it was Austin, took over their Instagram stories, and I actually watched some of the clips of Riho from a few weeks ago from the tournament, and from his angle, from ringside, it looked great and looked super impressive and stuff. Like I watched the same match on TV, and a lot of people love it, and I'm not discounting it. It just for me somehow it's not connecting between the TV and me sitting here, but watching Austin Gunn's perspective of it actually did translate. So I don't know what's happening psychologically there between me and watching Riho, but I don't know. It's just weird. There's something about it. The intensity is not there. Like I think then that's the thing. Like she does impressive stuff, and I think she's really good. But like the intensity of someone like Shida, Ryu Mizunami, like all these other people, I feel like that comes through the television better than Riho does. But we'll see.
It could just be that on TV she's like itty bitty.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who she's standing next to. She's like She doesn't stand over the top rope. So it's just less imposing, maybe. I don't know
And
what it
maybe
is, but
because I haven't seen the match of 12-year-old Riho versus Kenny Omega. Maybe maybe I don't really understand the full impressiveness of that. But she's something like 23, and she's like, and I think Excalibur said she's a 15-year veteran, and she's like, she's been wrestling since she's 8 years old. So yeah, that's pretty nuts. Um, so what was your least favorite? If we took away the barbed wire stuff, what was your least favorite part of the show?
I mean, it had to be kind of the non-match tag match.
Yeah, I think I
Everything
would
else
agree.
was pretty solid. I mean the Bucks and MJF and Jericho. I mean, they worked a good tag match. It didn't have a ton of the Wardlow involvement, which I was worried about. It got just enough that it didn't become too much. Um, Trying to think what else there was. The ladder
Yeah,
match. The ladder match. I mean, there were a ton of spots in that match where I thought somebody got hurt in that ladder match.
yeah.
I mean, Cody just sells it, but everybody else looked like they were taking some really gnarly hits. So yeah, I mean that all in all, the entire show was solid outside of that tag match that I didn't actually get, and the explosion. Eddie Kingston dying from a sparkler.
Oh
I
man,
got some.
I mean,
I got some real Joe
here.
Dirt vibes at the end of that pay per view. Snakes and sparklers, they're the only ones I like.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm really interested. I'm less interested in to hear what Kenny says in regards to how they sell that. I really want to see Eddie on a mic explain what happens, because I think he can bring it back around. But he's got a hell of a job in front of him. Like, it did not make him look good, and it knocked him down a couple pegs, and I think it really does need to get. I feel like almost tomorrow night they're going to just blow up the ring for real. Like, they're going to do it right this time.
They're
Just
going
to
to
show it can happen.
accidentally demolish Daly's place. It's
I was
just a
thinking if
giant hole in the side of what CenturyLink is where the Jags
yeah.
play. I think, yeah, just a giant hole in the side of the building when they're done.
uh, man, what they should have done is just like cut to a pre-recorded thing, like where they just showed like an aerial view of Daly's place, where just like they superimposed an explosion on it, just to play it anyway, and then maybe the people in the live crowd were privy to the real thing that happened, but that's what they should have done. But yeah, that's the thing. What I'm most excited about Dynamite tomorrow is I want to hear from Eddie. I want to know what went wrong. I think they can still salvage this, but it's a hell of a lot of work than it would have been if. I mean, if it exploded, I think it's a great story. But if it didn't, so that's where we're at.
Yeah, which sucks.
Yeah.
I'm excited to actually get a promo from Captain Charisma.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
there's two promos. It's weird to the big bitch about watching Raw is that it's 95% promos, and then you get like two matches that may or may not get cut out of the Hulu edit. But for a wrestling show where you go into it saying the things I'm most excited about are two promos.
So
that's just how good Eddie Kingston is.
Yeah. So I'm thinking one of the big surprises for me for Revolution is nothing from Sammy Guevara. I kind of thought he would pop up somehow, some way, but nothing. He's just kind of laying low.
I'm starting to think they may have shelved him after that Impact fiasco.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but or maybe they're just doing one of these things where like, hey, everybody, let's forget about him. And then that the ways when he does pop back up to cost something for, I'm guessing Jericho or MJF, unless this whole War Council thing tomorrow is really just secretly MJF and Sammy have actually been working together, and they're actually, it's just a whole big long con to get kick Jericho out of the inner circle. That could be fun, but who knows of what that's actually going to happen. Maybe he shows up tomorrow. That makes the most logical sense, but who knows what they've got in store. But yeah. We've got tomorrow, we've got two big announcements from NXT. Speaking of promos, we got Regal coming out to say something. But I think it sounds like the rumors on the street is we're going to get a 2-day Mania is not enough. We need a 2-day NXT takeover too, before Mania. And I'm not entirely sure why we need 2 days, but I'm at least hoping it's shorter. So yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why NXT just isn't part of WrestleMania if it's going to be two nights and 92 hours long.
Yeah. So, we got that. And then, the other, rumored announcement is the fact that it's going to move to Tuesdays, because of Hockey Night in Canada, on USA. So, I mean, I don't think those are revolutionary things, but one thing I will enjoy is the fact that I'll actually be able to watch NXT and Dynamite and not feel like I have to miss one or the other. Because honestly, if I'm not watching it live, I rarely go back and watch it. I know you watch most of your stuff like afterwards, but if I'm not watching Dynamite live, I tend to not see it at all. So
yeah, I mean, between USA and TNT, I can't give that much of my life to commercials. USA, a 3-hour Raw is an hour and 10 minutes of commercials on the damn USA Network. I wait for the Hulu cut, even if it costs me a Ricochet match most weeks. I'm gonna wait for the Hulu cut just to save myself the damn commercial breaks.
Do you know the eugenics guy, the NFL guy that's always pitching that eugenics thing?
Is there a new one? Frank Thomas did it for a while.
Frank Thomas. So that was one of my favorite. One of my favorite. Sorry, one of my favorite rumors about who AEW signed was they signed Frank Thomas, just because he's on every single commercial break on Dynamite. Every time they go to picture in picture, it's always that and State Farm, and it just drives me nuts.
I watch it on the TNT app, so I don't get those. Generally, I get the commercial breaks have 7 different ads in them, and normally it's a car ad and then an ad for Snowpiercer, and then the same car ad and then a different ad for Snowpiercer. And it does that during commercial breaks throughout the entire Dynamite broadcast. I don't even get picture in picture from the app. It shows me some of it, but yeah, when I get the commercial breaks, it's like Hulu used to be, where it's literally just 2 ads played over and over and over and over.
Oh man, well, at least I don't know if you ever tried watching Ring of Honor or anything like that. Those are the weirdest and saddest commercials that they play during those broadcasts, about like planning your final will and for some weird ass vitamins and all that stuff. It's real weird. Which you'd expect for being on at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, 1 a.m. on a Saturday, like going into Sunday morning. So anybody that's watching that is probably in a pretty bad place. Just putting it out there. Unless you're watching it on your DVR later in the week. If you're up at 1 o'clock and you think, I need to turn on Peachtree TV in Atlanta to catch the Ring of Honor episode, you're probably like high or shit-faced or something. So those call and talk to lonely singles ads are probably going to appeal to you.
Oh man. So anything you're looking forward to NXT coming up?
Adam Cole, Finn Balor. Tony Storm finally getting a solo match for the title, which at some point you gotta let somebody take that belt from Io, otherwise you've just run out of women.
Right.
Other than that, I think those were the only two matches that they announced.
Yeah. Because speaking of Io, I feel like we're kind of getting into the same territory with Shida as well. Like who is the next reasonable challenger? I mean, I know you've got a bunch of women that they brought in for that tournament on the Japanese side, and you can just give them an opportunity at some point. But like, I mean, the person that won the tournament is not challenged, lost her thing. So now you're talking about a second tier person who didn't win for one reason or the other. So I don't know how good that works. So they've got some work to do there. But it's been the strongest part of Dynamite for the last few weeks as well. So I hope they've got something good. I mean, I'm excited for this 6-woman tag that they've got coming up, but that's not for the title. So there is no title. So we'll have to see where they go from there.
I mean, they're essentially, to get that belt off her now, they're going to have to go to like a 6-woman ladder match or something.
Yeah.
That's the only logical way to use like the roster they've got, since they've sort of built everybody as nobody's ready for Shida.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the NXT has done with Io what they did with Asuka. And hell, maybe Io will just have to give somebody the belt when she moves on to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a consistent stream that happens with women's wrestling. They find like that one person that they let run all over everybody.
Yeah. Oh, you hear that music?
Yeah.
I think that means that we have 1 minute until this podcast explodes. So, any other further thoughts that you have?
No. I don't really have anything. Bobby Lashley,
review, subscribe.
Yeah, like, review, subscribe. Bobby Lashley squashed the Miz again last night, but it makes it made a little more sense last night than the first time. That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, we got Dynamite coming up. We have 2 nights of NXT TakeOver coming up at the beginning of April. And then, I think this is going on for a little bit longer.
This is fucking terrifying. I feel like I'm at the end of a Saw movie.
Oh, man. Oh.
Game over. Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's been the podcast for this week. We'll see you next week. Until then, enjoy your wrestling.